Hello, grade threes. This week we will be learning about King David. So we are going to cover a few stories that talk specifically about David. So we will be looking at David as the future king when he was discovered, David and the Battle of Goliath, and then David having to run and hide from King Saul. So let's jump right into it. A future king. King Saul had a strong army. He won many battles against the Philistines. But then he stopped obeying God. God did not want Saul to be the king any longer. God told Samuel to go to Bethlehem, to the house of Jesse. Samuel was a prophet. There he would find a new king. Jesse had many sons. The oldest was tall and handsome. He must be the one God wants, Samuel thought. But God said, He isn't the one I have chosen. People judge others by the way they look, but I judge people by what is in their hearts. The next son was not the one either, nor was the next. None of the 7 sons Jesse brought before Samuel was the right one. Do you have more sons? Samuel asked. Jesse answered, Yes, my youngest son David is taking care of the sheep. When David came in, God said to Samuel, He is the one. Samuel gave David a special blessing. One day David would be king. David and Goliath. King Saul's army was in trouble. Their enemies, the Philistines, were camped on a hill across the valley. The two armies were ready for war. One morning a huge man came out of the Philistine camp. His name was Goliath. He was 3 meters tall. He wore a helmet and a coat of armor made of heavy bronze. He carried a sword, a spear, and a dagger. Goliath stood and shouted to King Saul's men, Choose your best soldier to come and fight me. If he wins, our people will be your slaves. But if I win, your people will be our slaves. No one in Saul's army wanted to fight. Goliath came back the next day and the day after that. 2 times a day he dared them to fight him. Day after day Saul's men ran away. At this time David was tending sheep for his father Jesse. 3 of David's brothers were in Saul's army. Jesse asked David to take some bread to them. While David was at the camp, the giant came forward. Choose someone to fight me, Goliath called again. Again the soldiers of King Saul ran from him. David said to Saul, We can't let this Philistine come make cowards of us. I will go fight him. But you are only a boy, King Saul said. How can you fight this giant? David answered, I have fought lions and bears when they came for my sheep. The Lord saved me from the claws of lions and bears, and he will keep me safe from this Philistine. All right, go ahead, said King Saul. I hope the Lord will help you. Saul dressed David in his own helmet and coat of armor. David could barely move because he was not used to them. He took them off. Then David picked up 5 stones from the stream and put them in his shepherd's bag with his sling. With his walking stick in his hand, he stood in front of Goliath. The giant jeered at David. Do you think I am a dog that you come after me with a stick? He said. You come at me with a sword, a spear, and a dagger, David said. but I've come out to fight you in the name of the Lord all-powerful." David reached into his bag and took his sling and a stone. He took aim and shot the stone at Goliath. The stone sank into Goliath's forehead, and he fell face down on the ground, dead. When the Philistine army saw their hero was dead, they turned and ran. David had saved the Israelites with a sling and a stone. David's friend. David went to live with King Saul. The king liked to have David sing and play the harp for him. Everything David did, he did well. King Saul saw that people liked him. Saul's son Jonathan liked David too. He and David became best friends. Soon King Saul grew jealous of David. He sent him into battle in the hope that he would be killed. But God was with David. He became a hero. Now Saul was really angry. Jonathan feared for David's life. He and David made a plan. If Jonathan found out that David was in danger, he would find a way to warn David so he could run away. One morning David was hiding in the field behind a large rock. Jonathan came with his bow and arrows. He shot an arrow so it flew far away. Jonathan called his servant boy to run and get the arrow. This was a signal that King Saul was after David. When the servant boy left, David came out. He bowed down to Jonathan 3 times. Then he said goodbye. They were both crying, but David cried louder. Jonathan said to David, "Take care of yourself. Remember, we will always be friends."